Hello, I'm John Paul and I'm here at Rimmer Brothers today to put a track rod and a drag link on this Range Rover P38. Rimmer Brothers produces parts catalogue for the Range Rover P38. As you can see, this is a pretty comprehensive parts catalogue and it covers all the parts that you're going to need for the Range Rover P38. First thing we're going to do, as normal, we're going to get it up in the air, get the front wheels off, and then once we've fitted we're going to fit the track rod first, and then we're going to set the track in so that that's bang on. Then we'll fit the drag link and make sure that the steering wheel is dead straight once we've fitted the drag link. We've taken the wheel off, and here you can see is the track rod end connected to the track rod. The near side track rod end obviously with the track rod connected to the offside, and that's what actually holds the wheel track. I'll show you how to adjust it later, but for now we're going to get an 18mm socket. I'm going to whiz it off with a windy gun, but if you haven't got one, obviously just do it with a ratchet. So just get the socket on the nut. Whiz it off. You can see how tight that was with the windy gun, so if you are doing it with a ratchet it will take a bit of effort. There's a couple of ways of getting the track rod end out of the hub. You can, if you hit it with a hammer right on the shank of the hub, not on the track rod end itself, because it's a taper fit and that will shock it out. Alternatively, you can get a purpose-built ball joint remover, which is probably the easier, safer way to do that. And you hook it in like that, you wind the nut up, get it tight, and then it will pop the track rod end out. So you just keep winding the nut up. It will go with a crack. I think this one has already gone actually. Then you can take the track rod end out. You can see the taper fit there, and that's the bit that you actually have to shock out of the hub itself. I'm going to go around the other side now, take that wheel off, then do the same on that side. It's exactly the same as taking that track rod end off, so no point in showing you that really. Now here's the new track rod. Slightly different to some vehicles because it isn't straight. You can see it bends there to do something underneath the car, to miss something, the front axle. So normally you'll have the track rod end threaded into the track rod at both ends. So when you adjust the tracking, you would then just need to turn the track rod, because one's left hand thread, one's right hand thread, and then it will just toe in or toe out by shortening or lengthening the track rod. Slightly different because this one is bent. This track rod end is fixed into the track rod, and this track rod end has all the adjustment on it. So if you slacken off the pinch bolts, and then you get a 24mm spanner, once this is on the car obviously, 24mm spanner, then you will turn the centre adjuster, and that will then lengthen and shorten the track rod, because that's left hand thread, that's right hand thread, so it'll bring them in or take them out so that you can adjust the toe in, toe out of the tracking. I've fit the track rod on the other side hub, so we're going to pop this one in this side, put the nut back on, tighten it up, then we'll put the wheels back on, then we're going to check the tracking. Now if you haven't got any tracking gauges, the best way of doing it so you can get it to a garage to get it tracked up properly is just to get the wheels dead straight, and then just get a tape measure the inside of the wheel to wheel, and the front of the wheel to wheel, and just get them as parallel as you can, just so it drives nicer down to the garage, and then they'll set the tracking properly. I'm just going to set the tracking now using these old Dunlop gauges. If you went to the garage, obviously we would use our a digital tracking gauge which do a four-wheel alignment, but these are good enough what we're going to do. But before you set the tracking, just make sure the wheel bearings are all okay, your ball joints are okay, your tyre pressures have been set, and your wheels aren't bent. Then we'll set the tracking, and then we'll move on to the drag link. And we've set the tracking. I've not really showed you how to use the Dunlop tracking gauges, because if you've got them you'll know how to use them. Just one point I would say, that if you do have them, if you've got a book, obviously you'll see what the toe in, toe out reading should be. But on a four-wheel drive car like this, on this particular Range Rover, they just need to be toeing out slightly, because they will try to drive the wheels in a little bit. So just toe them out a little bit, like 1 to 2 millimeters. Or if you don't, just get them as parallel as you can, and then take it to the garage to get the tracking set. All that's left now is to tighten up the two pinch bolts to clamp the adjuster, then we'll retorque the wheel nuts, and then we're ready to go. I've got the vehicle in the air, taken the wheels off. I'm just going to firstly take off the steering damper, which is dead simple. 18mm spanner or socket, 15mm spanner or socket, whichever you prefer. Nut and bolt at each end, and we can remove the steering damper. If you need any more instruction, if you refer to our video on the steering damper, you can go to that. I'm going to remove the near side drag link end first with your 18mm socket on the nut, and then we can use our ball joint splitting tool again onto there, wind it up with a 19mm spanner. And there are millions of different sorts of ball joint splitting kits, so use whichever one you either have or you're happy with. The offside drag link end goes onto the steering box drop arm, but it's the same process. It's windy gun, undo it, don't tighten it, and then the ball joint splitting tool again, exactly the same process. Tighten her up. Till it pops off like that. This is the adjuster mechanism again, same as on the track rod. You've got a left hand thread and a right hand thread. So as you adjust the adjuster, it's lengthened or shortened, and this is to straighten up the steering wheel. Refitting the drag link is exactly the same, but in reverse. So pop it up into the steering box, pop your nut on, tighten that up, and we'll go around the other side and put the one in there. Just nip it up with a windy gun. Make sure you check it with a spanner afterwards. You can't rely on the air tools. And then we'll go around the other side and do the same to that. I've refitted the near side drag link end. I'm going to refit the steering damper, which is fairly easy, just two nut bolts each end. Then I'm going to pop the wheels back on. We're just going to drive it backwards and forwards, see where the steering wheel is. If it needs adjusting, we'll adjust it on that adjuster that I showed you earlier. So that's it. I've road tested it. The steering's straight, the tracking's good. I've tightened up all the nuts and bolts. We've road tested it. We've tightened up the torque down the wheel nuts. Everything's okay.